The mahogany dining table at my parents' house had always been the stage for family announcements. Today was no different, except I was the only one who knew the real script. "Marcus, we need to discuss your office building," Uncle Robert announced, cutting into his turkey with the same authority he used to run the family's failing construction business. The family's been talking. I kept eating quietly, watching steam rise from my mother's famous mashed potatoes. Around the table sat the entire Thompson clan. Uncle Robert and Aunt Sarah, their 3 kids with their spouses, my parents, and my older sister Jennifer with her husband. "The space is clearly too big for your little software company," Uncle Robert continued. "What is it, Monty people, in a 12-story building downtown?" 23, I corrected softly, taking another bite. My cousin Brad snickered. 23 people rattling around in 200,000 square feet. It's embarrassing, really. I'd heard this tone before. 3 years ago when I left the family construction business to start my own company. "A waste of your engineering degree," Dad had said. "Software is for kids in basements." Uncle Robert cleared his throat. "We've come up with the perfect solution. The family's converting your office building into apartments. We'll take the top 3 floors, penthouses, obviously. Your parents get the 8th floor, Jennifer and Tom the 7th. I glanced at my watch. 6:58 p.m. Right on schedule. "And you can keep the 2nd floor for your little startup," Brad added generously. "More than enough space." My sister Jennifer nodded enthusiastically. "It's perfect. The building's in the best part of downtown. Tom and I have already started planning our renovation." I took a sip of water, remembering the day 3 years ago when I'd walked away from Thompson Construction. Uncle Robert had called a family meeting to announce Brad as the new CEO, bypassing me despite my MBA and 5 years of modernizing their systems. "The construction business is about relationships," Uncle Robert had declared, "not computers and algorithms." What they never understood was that I agreed completely. Business was all about relationships. They just didn't know which relationships I'd been building. "We'll need to start construction next month," Uncle Robert continued, spreading blueprints across the dinner table. "I've already talked to city planning." The doorbell rang. My mother frowned. "Who could that be at this hour?" "That would be my executive assistant," I said quietly. I asked her to bring some papers when she finished at the office. "Executive assistant." Brad laughed. "For 23 people." The dining room door opened and Sarah Chen walked in, impeccable in her tailored suit despite the late hour. "I apologize for interrupting dinner, Mr. Thompson, but you asked for these documents by 7 p.m. I nodded, taking the leather portfolio she offered. "Perfect timing, Sarah. Please join us. This concerns you too." "Marcus," my father warned, "this is a family discussion." "Oh, I agree completely," I said, opening the portfolio. "Sarah, would you mind giving everyone the news you just received?" She smiled professionally. "Of course, sir. As of 6:45 p.m. today, Thompson Construction's board of directors approved the acquisition offer. Standard Dynamics now owns 51% of the company's shares." The room went silent. "What acquisition?" Uncle Robert demanded. "What is she talking about?" I laid out the first document. 3 years ago when I left, I started buying Thompson Construction shares through various holding companies. The board members were quite happy to sell, especially after the Porter Project disaster. Brad's face went pale. The Porter Project, his first major decision as CEO, Bulls had cost the company millions. "That's impossible," Uncle Robert sputtered. "We would have known." "Would you?" I spread out more papers. "Like you knew about the shell companies buying up all the prime downtown real estate, or the technology firm that's been acquiring your competitors." Jennifer grabbed one of the documents. "Standard Dynamics, that's your little software company. Actually, Standard Dynamics is just one division." I corrected. "The parent company, Phoenix Enterprises, owns 37 companies now, including that little 12-story building downtown, which, by the way, houses our corporate headquarters and 400 employees across 8 floors. My father's hands were shaking as he picked up another document. "These numbers, billions. Phoenix Enterprises is now the largest private employer in the city," Sarah added helpfully. "The announcement goes public tomorrow morning." Uncle Robert's face had turned an interesting shade of purple. "This is some kind of trick. You can't possibly have built a multi-billion-dollar company while you thought I was failing." I smiled. "That was rather the point, Uncle Robert. You taught me well." Business is about relationships and appearances. I turned to my mother, whose mashed potatoes had gone cold. Remember last year when you insisted I needed a real job and set up that interview with your friend's accounting firm? I had to reschedule because of a dentist appointment. You were presenting to our investors that day. Sarah supplied. The Quantum Computing Initiative, $2 billion in funding. Brad slumped in his chair. The Porter Project, you knew it would fail. No, I corrected. I knew you would fail. There's a difference. I just made sure to be there to pick up the pieces. My sister found her voice. But what about our apartments? The renovation plans? About that. I pulled out one final document. The building is being renovated into the new Standard Dynamics Technology Center. 10 floors of cutting-edge research facilities, a quantum computing lab, and yes, some executive housing. Though not quite how you planned it. Uncle Robert stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. Now see here, please sit down, I said quietly. Sarah, would you mind sharing the other news? She nodded. The board also approved your removal as CEO of Thompson Construction, effective immediately. Mr. Thompson will be assuming direct control tomorrow morning. You can't do this, Uncle Robert whispered. Actually, I can, and I am. I stood up, straightening my jacket. The company's bleeding money. The safety protocols are outdated and the corporate culture is toxic. Starting tomorrow, things change. And what about us? My father asked. That depends. I gathered the documents back into the portfolio. I'm offering everyone here a choice. You can join the new organization, starting at entry-level positions, learning the business properly this time. Or you can take very generous severance packages and retire. Brad jumped up. This is ridiculous. I'm calling our lawyers. Already taken care of. Sarah interrupted smoothly. They were served with the papers an hour ago. They've advised accepting the terms. I checked my watch again. The press conference is at 9 a.m. tomorrow. I'd appreciate your decisions by 8. Sarah will be available all night to answer questions and process paperwork. My mother's voice was small. But where will we live? That's the interesting part, I said, heading for the door. You see, I don't just own the office building. Phoenix Enterprises bought this house last year when Dad refinanced, and the vacation homes, and Brad's condo, and Uncle Robert's golf club. The silence was deafening. Don't worry, I added, pausing at the door. I'm not like you. No one's being thrown out or forced to move. But starting tomorrow, things will be different. Very different. I turned to Sarah. Please make sure everyone gets copies of the relevant documents, and have legal standing by. Of course, sir. She began distributing folders with practiced efficiency. Marcus, wait. My sister called. Where are you going? I smiled. To my office. The real one on the top floor of that building downtown. I have a company to run. As I walked out, I heard Brad's whispered question. How did we not know? Sarah's answer was professional, but carried just a hint of satisfaction. You never asked. You were too busy looking down to notice he'd climbed above you. The night air was crisp as I walked to my car. Nothing flashy, just a reliable sedan. Appearances, after all, were everything. My phone buzzed with messages from board members, executives, and project leads across the globe. The real work was just beginning. Tomorrow everyone would know about Phoenix Enterprises and its meteoric rise. They'd learn about the technological innovations, the strategic acquisitions, the billions in revenues. But tonight, for just a few more hours, I was still the failure who'd walked away from the family business to chase a dream. I smiled as I started the engine. Sometimes the best revenge isn't serving a cold dish. It's letting them serve it to themselves, while you build an empire right under their noses. The city lights twinkled as I drove downtown, past buildings that now belong to my company, past streets where tomorrow's news would echo. In my rearview mirror, I could see my parents' house growing smaller, still lit up like a stage where the final act of one play had just ended. But for me, it was just the beginning. At the office, the security guard nodded respectfully as I walked in. He'd always known who I really was. The elevator rode smoothly to the top floor, where teams of developers and executives were still working, preparing for tomorrow's announcement. I walked past the glass-walled conference rooms, where strategy sessions had planned this very evening, past the quantum computing lab that would revolutionize the industry, past the offices where we'd quietly bought up companies, while their owners thought we were just another startup. My corner office overlooked the city, lights twinkling like stars fallen to earth. On my desk, beside advanced prototype devices and confidential files, sat a single framed photo. The day I left Thompson Construction, everyone's faces were disappointed, judgmental. They thought they were watching me walk away from success. They didn't realize they were watching me walk toward it. Sarah appeared in the doorway. Your family is still at the house. Your uncle is vocal. Let him be, I said, turning to the window. Tomorrow he can be vocal to the board, if he chooses to stay. And if he doesn't, then he can be vocal to his retirement fund managers. I smiled at her reflection in the glass. How many times did they call me a failure, Sarah? I stopped counting at 312, sir. She'd been keeping track since the beginning, another detail they'd missed. And now they know. She paused. Was it worth the wait? I watched a plane taking off from the airport, rising above the city where I'd built my empire in secret. Ask me tomorrow, after they've had time to really understand what happened, after they realize that every dismissive word, every condescending gesture, every helpful suggestion about getting a real job, it all just helped me stay invisible while I built this. The press conference is prepared, she reported. All major networks will carry it live. Perfect. I turned back to my desk, to the contracts and proposals that had built this moment. Let's give them something to talk about. As Sarah left, I opened my laptop to review the morning's announcements. Acquisitions, innovations, expansions. The carefully crafted story of a company that had grown in the shadows, ready to step into the light. Tomorrow everyone would know the truth. But tonight, in these last few hours of being the family failure, I savored the sweetness of knowing that success isn't always visible, that power doesn't always roar, and that sometimes the best way to build an empire is to let everyone think you're building nothing at all. The city lights twinkled, and somewhere across town, my family was finally learning what I'd known all along. The biggest rooms in the world are the rooms for improvement, and I'd just built myself a skyscraper full of them. The morning sun painted the city skyline gold as I stood in my office, adjusting my tie for the press conference. Overnight my family's world had shattered, but mine was about to expand exponentially. Sir, Sarah entered with her tablet. We have updates. Go ahead. Your uncle has been in meetings with his lawyers since 5 a.m. They've advised him again to accept the terms. Brad's been calling our competitors trying to find a position, but word of the acquisition has already spread through back channels. I nodded, watching the morning traffic flow beneath my window. And my parents? Your mother called 4 times asking if you'll still come to Sunday dinners. Your father hasn't said a word since last night. She paused. Jennifer and Tom are waiting in the lobby. They want to talk before the press conference. Of course they did. Jennifer had always been the practical one, quick to spot which way the wind was blowing. Send them up. And Sarah, make sure legal is present. 10 minutes later, Jennifer and Tom sat across from me in the conference room, their expressions a mix of awe and calculation as they took in the sweeping city views and state-of-the-art technology surrounding them. This is impressive, Jennifer admitted, running her hand along the polished conference table. All this time we thought. That's rather the point, isn't it? I replied, noting how Tom's eyes kept darting to the stock tickers scrolling across the wall screens. What can I do for you? Jennifer leaned forward. We want in Marcus, not entry-level positions like you offered last night. Real positions. We're family. Family, I repeated softly, like when you told the board I was too inexperienced to handle the Miller contract, or when Tom here spread rumors about my mental stability after I left. Tom shifted uncomfortably. That was business, nothing personal. Exactly. I smiled. This is business too. Nothing personal. Sarah placed 2 folders on the table. Your options as discussed last night. Entry-level positions with standard advancement tracks, or retirement packages. Both are extremely generous. Jennifer's face flushed. This is ridiculous. I have an MBA from a mid-tier school where dad's donations got you in. I finished. I have the receipts, by the way. Interesting reading. Marcus, please. She tried a different tack. We're your family. We can help you run this empire you've built. I stood up, buttoning my jacket. That's where you're wrong, Jennifer. I didn't build an empire. I built a meritocracy. Every person in this building earned their position. Even the janitors have stock options and advancement opportunities. But, in fact, I continued, checking my watch in the time we've been talking, our junior developers have pushed 3 updates that will generate more revenue than Thompson Construction made last year. That's what happens when you value talent over titles. Tom's face darkened. You arrogant little. Choose your next words carefully, Sarah interrupted smoothly. They may affect which option you're offered. The intercom buzzed. Mr. Thompson. The press is assembled in the auditorium. Thank you. I headed for the door. You have until noon to decide. Sarah will handle the paperwork. Marcus, Jennifer called out. What about mom and dad? I paused. They have the same choices you do. Earn their place or take the retirement. The only difference is, they get to keep the house. Consider it a son's indulgence. The elevator ride to the auditorium level was silent, my mind already shifting to the announcements ahead. Phoenix Enterprises wasn't just revealing its existence today. We were launching 5 new technologies that would reshape entire industries. Behind the stage, my core team waited. Unlike my family, these people had earned their positions through talent and dedication. They knew the real me, had helped build this success from the ground up. Ready, boss? Mike, my chief technology officer, asked. He'd been the first person I'd hired, back when we really were just 23 people in a too-big building. Born ready. I straightened my tie one last time. How's the quantum processor demo looking? Perfect. When they see what it can do, he grinned. The tech world's going to lose its mind. The auditorium was packed. Journalists, industry analysts, and yes, my entire family, seated in the back row looking shell-shocked. Uncle Robert's face was still purple, but now there was fear mixed with the anger. As I stepped to the podium, cameras flashed. The world was about to change, and I was holding the lever. Good morning, I began. My name is Marcus Thompson, and for the past 3 years, I've been the CEO of Phoenix Enterprises. The presentation went exactly as planned. Each revelation hit like a thunderbolt. The acquisitions, the technological breakthroughs, the global reach of a company no one had noticed growing in their midst. When Mike demonstrated the quantum processor, actually making it float using controlled magnetic fields, the audience gasped. This isn't just about technology, I concluded. It's about vision, about seeing possibilities where others see limitations, about building something that matters. The Q&A session was intense. How had we stayed hidden? Where did the funding come from? What were our plans for Thompson Construction? I answered each question directly, watching my family's expressions change as the full scope of their new reality sank in. They weren't just losing control of their company, they were becoming footnotes in a much bigger story. After the press conference, as reporters filed out still buzzing with excitement, Brad approached me. His usual swagger was gone. You could have told us, he said quietly. Would you have listened? I asked. Or would you have tried to take control, like you're thinking about doing right now? He flinched. I wasn't your phone calls this morning. To our competitors. They all work for me now, Brad. Every single one. That's what real business relationships look like. So that's it? You destroy the family business just to prove a point. I laughed. Destroy it? I'm saving it. Thompson Construction was 3 months from bankruptcy before I stepped in. Your Porter project didn't just fail. It was going to take the whole company down. The color drained from his face. How did you know? Because I read the contracts, did the math, checked the foundations, all the things you were too busy playing CEO to do yourself. Sarah appeared at my elbow. Sir, the board is waiting for the video conference, and your uncle is trying to access his old office. Lock him out, I said, gently. And Brad? Noon deadline still stands. Choose wisely. The next few hours were a blur of meetings, decisions, and watching our stock price soar as the market digested the Phoenix Enterprises revelation. By noon we'd added $3 billion to our market cap. Sarah brought lunch to my office. Still just a simple sandwich, same as when we'd started. Some habits don't change, even when everything else does. Final count. I asked. Jennifer and Tom took the entry-level positions in marketing. Brad chose the retirement package. He's already headed to the Bahamas. Your parents, she hesitated. Go on. They're still deciding. But your mother left this. She handed me a note. In my mother's elegant handwriting. We didn't see you. All this time we didn't see you. I'm sorry. I folded the note carefully. And Uncle Robert, still threatening legal action. His lawyers have officially dropped him as a client. Have security escort him out if necessary. Politely. Yes, sir. She paused at the door. Was it worth it? All the hiding, the pretending. I looked out at my city. Because it was mine now. In all the ways that mattered. Every building, every business deal, every subtle move that had brought me to this moment. Ask me in a year, I said. When they've all figured out that this isn't the end of the story. It's just the beginning. Sarah smiled. Shall I start the contingency plans for phase 2? Please do. I turned back to my desk, to the future we were building. After all, the best revenge isn't just success. It's sustained success, she finished, already typing on her tablet. As the afternoon sun painted shadows across my office, I thought about family, about power, about the quiet satisfaction of proving everyone wrong. But mostly, I thought about tomorrow, and all the tomorrows after that. Because the thing about building an empire in secret, is that once it's revealed, you have to keep building. Bigger, better, higher, and I was just getting started. 1 month after the press conference, I sat in my office reviewing the changes across our companies. The Thompson Construction rebranding was complete, its aging logo replaced with sleek modern design. But more importantly, its culture was transforming. Sir, Sarah entered with her morning report. The quarterly numbers are in. Let's hear it. Thompson Construction's efficiency is up 40% since the restructuring. The new safety protocols have eliminated all major incidents, and employee satisfaction has increased dramatically. She paused. Your sister Jennifer has actually been performing well in marketing. I raised an eyebrow. Really, she's completed all entry-level certifications ahead of schedule. Her team leader recommends early promotion consideration. Interesting. I leaned back. And Tom? Less stellar. 3 warnings for attempting to bypass standard procedures. He still thinks his connection to the family should earn him special treatment. Issue a final warning. Family or not, the rules apply to everyone. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Sunday dinner. Please. For 4 weeks I'd declined these invitations, focusing instead on consolidating Phoenix Enterprises' position. The market had responded enthusiastically to our emergence, with our stock price continuing to climb. But family was complicated. Your parents have both enrolled in the corporate training program, Sarah noted, seeing the message. Your father's actually doing quite well in the project management course. I smiled slightly. Dad always was good at details when he actually paid attention. Unlike Uncle Robert, there was a hint of amusement in her voice. Ah yes, Uncle Robert. After his lawyers abandoned him, he tried going to the press with claims of family betrayal. It backfired spectacularly when journalists uncovered his history of questionable business practices, all documented in files we'd quietly made available. Any word from him since he left for his extended vacation? Sarah checked her tablet. Last seen in Monaco, attempting to convince investors to back a new venture. They declined after receiving our standard information packet. I nodded. The packet, a detailed history of Thompson Construction's near collapse under his leadership, had become quite useful in certain circles. Sir, Sarah hesitated. About your parents. Yes, they've completed every task we've assigned. Attended every training. Your mother's even mentoring some of the junior staff on client relations. I stood and walked to the window. The city stretched out below, a testament to careful planning and patient execution. But family required a different kind of strategy. Scheduled dinner for Sunday, I decided. Not at their house, neutral ground. The private room at Laurent's. Yes, sir. Just your parents. For now. Let's see how this goes before we expand the guest list. The rest of the week passed in a blur of acquisitions and innovations. Our quantum computing division had broken 3 more barriers, and our renewable energy projects were revolutionizing power distribution across 3 continents. Sunday evening arrived clear and cool. I arrived at Laurent's, early inspecting the private dining room setup. Everything perfect as always. My parents arrived exactly on time, a new habit they'd learned from corporate training. Mom looked nervous, Dad determined. Mom stepped forward, then stopped, unsure of the protocol. Mom, I kissed her cheek, feeling her relax slightly. Dad, thank you for coming. Son, Dad's voice was gruff. Place looks good. We sat down, the initial awkwardness slowly dissolving as wine was poured and appetizers served. Your training reports are impressive, I said finally. Mom brightened. The young people in my department. They're so bright, so eager to learn. It reminds me of you at that age, always asking questions. Questions you didn't want to answer, I reminded her gently. We were wrong, Dad said abruptly. About everything. The way we treated you, the things we said. The way we didn't see what you were building. Mom added. Even when it was right in front of us. I studied them both. The past month had changed them. Humbled them, yes, but also awakened something. In the corporate training reports, I'd seen glimpses of the parents I'd always wanted, engaged, curious, willing to learn. The company's training program has a next level, I said carefully. More advanced, more demanding. We'd like to try, Dad said. If you'll let us. It's not about letting you, Dad. It's about earning it, like everyone else does. We understand that now, Mom said. Really understand it. I took a sip of wine, considering. There's a new project starting, sustainable housing development. Combines Thompson Construction's expertise with Phoenix Enterprises technology. It needs experienced managers who understand both old and new methods. Dad sat up straighter. We'd need to learn the new systems completely. Everything, I confirmed. No shortcuts, no special treatment. Think you can handle that? They exchanged looks, not of entitlement now, but of determination. Yes, they said together. Good. I signaled for dessert, because the project starts next week, and the training begins at 7 a.m. sharp. As we finished dinner, Mom hesitated. And Jennifer, Tom? Jennifer's earning her place, I said. Tom, we'll see. Brad's apparently enjoying his retirement in the Bahamas. And Uncle Robert, I shrugged. Some people can't adapt to change. We're trying, Dad said quietly. To adapt, to understand. I know. I signed the bill, that's why we're having dinner. Outside the restaurant, Mom hugged me impulsively. We're proud of you, Marcus. Not because of the money or the success, but because of how you did it. How you built something real. Even if we didn't see it happening, Dad added. I watched them drive away, thinking about family and forgiveness, about power and its proper use. Some bridges couldn't be rebuilt. Uncle Robert had burned his thoroughly. Others, like Brad, had chosen a different path entirely. But some bridges, perhaps, could be reconstructed. Stronger this time, with better foundation. Back in my office, the city lights twinkled below. Sarah appeared with the evening reports. The dinner went well. Better than expected. I turned from the window. Start the paperwork for their advanced training. And Sarah, monitor closely. The moment they try to leverage family connections, they'll be removed from the program, she finished. Like anyone else would be. Exactly. I sat down at my desk. Now, about phase 2 of our expansion. Because that was the thing about power. Real power. It wasn't just about winning or proving points. It was about building something lasting. Something that could lift others up, if they were willing to do the work. Even family. Especially family. 6 months after the revelation that shook my family, I stood on the stage at Phoenix Enterprises' first public shareholders meeting. The auditorium was packed with investors, media and yes, family, though in very different positions than they'd once imagined. Our first year as a public entity has exceeded all projections, I announced. Thompson Construction, under its new management, has become the industry leader in sustainable development. Our quantum computing division has revolutionized data processing, and our global reach now extends to 43 countries. In the front row, my parents sat quietly proud, not as entitled family members, but as successful project managers who'd earned their positions. Mom's sustainable housing initiative had won international awards, while Dad's integration of traditional construction methods with cutting-edge technology had created a new industry standard. Jennifer sat with her marketing team, taking notes. She'd risen to department head through genuine merit, surprising everyone. including herself. Tom, unfortunately, hadn't made it. His third attempt to bypass procedures had resulted in his resignation. Last I heard, he was working for a small contractor in another state. But success isn't just about numbers, I continued. It's about legacy, about building something that lasts. My gaze swept the audience, pausing briefly on Uncle Robert's empty seat. He'd finally stopped trying to undermine the company after his last venture failed spectacularly. Now he lived quietly on his retirement package, a cautionary tale about the price of pride. Today I'm announcing the Phoenix Foundation, I revealed. A $5 billion initiative to support innovation, education, and sustainable development worldwide. Because true success isn't just about building wealth, it's about building futures. The applause was thunderous. Sarah, now my chief operations officer, gave me a subtle thumbs up from the side stage. She'd helped design the foundation's structure, ensuring it would remain true to our meritocratic principles. After the meeting, during the reception, my mother approached me, no longer nervous or apologetic. She carried herself with the confidence of someone who knew her worth. The foundation, she said. It's what you were planning all along, isn't it? I smiled. Part of it. There's always a bigger picture, Mom. You taught me that, though perhaps not in the way you intended. And now, she asked, what's the bigger picture now? I looked around the room, at Jennifer discussing marketing strategies with international clients, at Dad explaining our new construction techniques to impressed investors, at the teams of brilliant people who'd helped build this empire. Now, I said. Now we build something even bigger, something that lasts beyond us. Brad had sent a congratulatory email from his beach house in the Bahamas. He'd found peace in his retirement, finally accepting that leadership wasn't his strength. Sometimes walking away was its own kind of wisdom. Sarah approached with her tablet. The Asian markets are opening soon, and the quantum announcement is ready. I nodded. Time to get back to work. My mother touched my arm. Sunday dinner tomorrow. Wouldn't miss it, I smiled. But remember, no business talk at the table, she finished. Some traditions are worth keeping. As the reception wound down, I returned to my office. The city lights still twinkled below, but now they reflected the logos of Phoenix Enterprises on buildings across the skyline, not as symbols of dominance, but as beacons of innovation and opportunity. Sarah followed with the evening reports. Everything's proceeding as planned. The foundation's first projects are ready to launch, and the new quantum processors are testing beyond expectations. Perfect. I turned from the window. And the family, all remaining members are performing within or above standard metrics. No special treatment requested or given. Good. I sat down at my desk. Then let's talk about tomorrow. Because that was the final lesson, the one my family had finally learned. Success wasn't about who you were born to be, but who you chose to become. It wasn't about taking what you thought you deserved, but building what you were willing to work for. And sometimes the best revenge wasn't revenge at all. It was showing everyone who doubted you that you could build something greater than they ever imagined, and then inviting them to help make it even better, if they were willing to earn their place. The city hummed with energy below, each light a possibility, each shadow a challenge to overcome. Tomorrow would bring new opportunities, new challenges, new chances to build something extraordinary. And this time, everyone knew exactly who was building it. The end.